Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm John. This is Many a True Nerd, and this is the worst Star Wars game ever made. Now, I'm sure many of you are expecting Kinect Star Wars to be popping up any second, but no, it's not. The worst Star Wars game ever made is Rogue Squadron 3 Rebel Strike. And I'm hoping, over the course of this video, I can convince many of you that this is true. To start off with, Kinect Star Wars, in some ways, there's a very good argument for it being the worst Star Wars game ever made. However, context is important. I think everybody who played Kinect Star Wars, and mercifully I understand that was very few people, they went into that knowing it would be a ridiculous, cheesy travesty completely lacking in dignity whatsoever. It didn't pretend to be anything but that. If you think Kinect Star Wars lacks dignity, you have never played Rebel Strike. Yep. What you're seeing actually happened. All the complete insane lack of dignity of Kinect Star Wars, except they tried to do it without any sort of graphical power. This game does not have that defense. This game is the sequel to Star Wars Rogue Leader, the launch game that came out on the GameCube, and a fantastic game it was too. Immensely exciting game. Basically entirely spaceship combat, just like Rogue Squadron on the N64, the first game in the series. Brilliant game, really good fun, really exciting. To my mind, easily the best launch title on the GameCube. In some ways, like Luigi's Mansion has a lot of charm too, but I would have to say Rogue Leader was the most exciting of all. Rogue Leader was the most exciting of all of the launch titles on the GameCube. But they had a problem, which is, when they made Rogue Leader, you did the Death Star Trench Run, and you went to Hoth, and you went to Bespin, and you did the Battle of Endor, and you did all the battles that were in the film. In fact, they already didn't have enough battles in the original trilogy to actually make up. They didn't have enough battles to actually make up a game, so they had to add new ones, like going into the Maw, which I believe is in the Expanded Universe. I need to check. I haven't read all of the Expanded Universe books. I've read some of them. I haven't read all of them. So, yeah, unfortunately that kind of meant when they came to making a sequel, and they decided that obviously a sequel had to be made because money, I guess, they kind of were left in a very difficult situation. So here we are, whereas the first level of Rogue Leader was the Death Star, where there was the very exciting doing everything that was in the films. You took out the big guns, and then you fought the TIE fighters as they came in, and then you did the Death Star Trench Run, and all the music was beautifully synced up. It was amazing, and it felt really exciting. Here, the first level proper is the Evacuation of Yavin. That thing that we just sort of assume happened between episode 4 and 5, but we never saw. Okay. Basically, the Empire is parking lorries on Yavin, and we have to stop that. Why? I don't know. I think we're buying time for them to get away. But just look at this. This is remember Yavin? Jungle planet? Look at this. There's like a tree every about 100, 200 meters. I mean, this is kind of amazing, right? How bad this looks.
Try to take them out before they can deploy.
The awful voice acting doesn't help.
You should also... Excellent, Luke. That was a vital transport.
Was it a vital transport?
We'll be fine. The fleet needs your help now, Starfleet. As you wish, Commander Skywalker.
Spot the person who's going to be the traitor.
Right alongside you, Luke.
Could it by any chance be the person we haven't heard before, who's got the deep gravelly voice, who doesn't follow orders? Spoiler alert, yes. Yes, it will be. Oh yeah, just when you thought this game wasn't going to get any worse, this happens. a fixed camera, third person, on the ground thing. Just the graphics that are outside and like, when you're flying around. This was a beautiful, beautiful game. This looks awful. They could have done this on the N64. I'm honestly I look at this and I'm amazed. It's slow, it's uninteresting, the camera is abysmal. Yeah, it's all fixed camera angles, so don't you can't aim because there's absolutely no way of seeing relative depth. You literally just kind of point. That guy was, yeah, one of the enemies was just off screen there because the camera was decided to follow where I was. Who looked at this and said this is a good idea? Who looked at this and said, yeah, the people who played the spaceship shooter, the sequel to Rogue Squadron Rogue Leader, what they really want to do is get out of the spaceship and run around on foot. Who thought this was a good idea? Jump a lot. If you jump, they basically can't hit you. So the game basically turns into this. I mean, is this supposed to be because Luke is a Jedi that he can jump this high? I don't know. It's kind of odd. This looks awful. In a game where the spaceship sections look really nice. I mean, at the very least, you'd think that... Oh, okay, this bit can't be smashed. Oh no, now it can. It just can't be smashed from the other bloody side. Of course. You'll also probably notice that I'm literally just running around, jumping, hitting things. Not really aiming or anything, I'm just kind of shooting. Basically the game is aiming itself. Your best bet is literally just to run in a circle. It's just to basically run around and just hammer A. Yep, game aims for me. Don't have any extra weapons. Nothing at all. That's it. That is the mission. So here's how this game operates. You basically end up choosing which route you want to go down. So you can go down Luke's route, which is Defiance on Dantooine, a planet which of course was mentioned in the films, but we never actually saw in the films, or Raid at Bakura if you want to go down Wedge's route. Neither are particularly interesting, but I do want to go down Luke's route, because Luke's route really shows the true horror of this game. So in terms of things that you'd want out of a sequel to Rogue Leader, let's just go over what you might want. You might want, you know, spaceships, rapid fire action, you know, really fast moving, exciting stuff. You don't get much of that in this game. What you get instead is, well, you get a lot of, you get to be in a walker a few times, and they are, if you kind of look at its legs, they kind of look a little bit like it's just kind of doddering all over the place. It feels like that too. This is absolutely awful to pilot. You can't really control it very well because the cursor goes all over the damn place. The camera doesn't behave very well. It just kind of, it staggers. It feels awful to just fly. It just feels awful to walk around in. It generally feels like it's just kind of doddering about. It's just awful. It's slow as well. Convenient. Just in case like the game was trying to show off how ridiculously damaged and broken it is. You've probably noticed right now that right now I'm not under fire in any way. Nothing's happening to me. I'm in literally no danger. The game is telling me to go somewhere. The reason it's doing that is because of this guy, who you can't even see very clearly. There he is. Look on the left. There he is. He's just there. He's not going to turn around ever. But while he's there, yep, the game will just freeze, even though he wasn't particularly well flagged. And that, incidentally, is it. That mission, in terms of on the ground, the bit that's in the walker, takes a few minutes. And just in case you were, you know, worried that you would be doing something like a walk section the whole time, no. No, don't you worry. There is plenty of, there is absolutely plenty of running around on foot to be done yet. With awful static camera angles. It's just terrible. I look at this, I honestly don't know how anyone looked at this and said, yeah, this'll do. This is what people want out of the new Rogue Leader game, right? They want to run around on foot. Of course they do. How did we not realise it before? And of course, the only thing better than running around on foot is running around on foot in a maze. There's absolutely no tension because the enemy will always be highlighted by the little thing, so you know exactly where they are. Even before they're on screen, you know where they are. It's amazing. It's genuinely amazing. And then finally, there's turret sections. Just if you thought this game was utterly kind of weird how completely not Star Warsy it is, yeah, there's turret sections in this game. There's actually just, yeah, I'm just like going side to side. That's it. That was it. That was the turret section. You've probably noticed I didn't do anything aside from just kind of wiggle it side to side one way, then wiggle it side to side the other. Now, look how pretty this game is. Look, it's actually nice. This is an attractive game. This had a beautiful game engine. The problem is, it was a beautiful game engine for making spaceships fight each other. But for some reason, this game decided it didn't want to have people fight. It didn't want to have spaceships fighting each other half the time. But here's another interesting way that the game decides that it's going to try and kind of keep things interesting. It brings in content from the prequel trilogy. No, genuinely. It has decided that the best thing that it can do to keep you excited is bringing content from the prequel trilogy. Because if there's one thing people want, it's the prequel trilogy. So yes, Wedge's is the better of the two campaigns because Wedge obviously isn't a Jedi, so spends his time in a ship because he's a really good pilot.
Surrender, and I may show you mercy.
Who are you?
You know who I am. The Empire maintains order, and people like you disrupt that order.
Incidentally, of course, that is Sarkley, the sneery, annoying person from the first mission of the game who didn't like following orders. Mysteriously, yeah, he turned out to be betrayed us to the Empire. Who would have thought it? The interesting thing is, this is an Imperial gunship. This is like the thing they invented as like a boss. You may have noticed that if you get behind it, it can't really do anything to you. So I'm just hovering behind it. Yeah, firing into it. Can't do anything. This is supposed to be the boss. I don't think I've taken a hit yet. Notice my shield's in the bottom left. My shields are currently... yeah. My shields did not take a hit. I literally went behind it and fired at it. In the first game, you probably remember the similar big boss things that you had to fight in space were they were Star Destroyers. You had to fight Star Destroyers where they were absolutely bristling with guns, and you had to take out 3 sets of shields on them. You had to take out its guns and 2 shield generators on the top and 1 on the bottom before you could attack the bridge, and then you had to go on a run for the bridge, and it was really exciting. It was Razor Rendezvous, that was the mission in Rogue Leader, Razor Rendezvous, and it was a fantastic mission. It wasn't in the films, but it was still one of the best missions in the game. But no, oh look! Well, now we have to be on foot. Notice how I've taken out about 6 troops, Imperial troops, before they actually noticed I was here. And I'm jumping. I've taken, a few hits. I haven't used any of my grenades. The things I've got, the red things, those are grenades. So basically, I'm supposed to be using grenades, and I'm not going to. I'm going to show you that this game was play tested so badly that no one noticed that if you just jump up and down, you can beat the game and barely get hit. Auto target does all the work, obviously. So he's dead. He's dead. This one's dead. That one's dead. So, in case you missed this was Geonosis. That was the asteroid field over Geonosis. The planet, the Clone Wars began in Episode 2, and I'm sure, obviously, you will remember. You will recognise that because 1, it's obviously incredibly recognisable from the fact that they made it kind of orange. That's literally pretty much the only thing they did to acknowledge the fact that this was Geonosis. So this is supposed to be like an epic battle between the crashed Imperial troops and the robots Geonosis, the remnants of the droid armies that are still on Geonosis. But in case you hadn't noticed, it's not a particularly epic battle. In fact, you're kind of barely even aware most of the time there's a battle going on. So yeah, Sarkly's here, and he's got one of those gunner bomber things from episode 2 that the Jedi rode around in. You probably noticed, like, even though I'm taking hits from like robots all over the place, and there is a gunship that's firing at me, yeah, I'm still almost full health. There's a robot over to my left that I can't actually hit. It's just shooting me. I'm ignoring it. You'll notice there's an awful flat-looking skybox in the background. I think actually maybe I'm done. I think actually the enemy died. Yep, there's that robot. I think actually the Sarkly, his ship crashed, and I just I didn't even realise it.
I wonder if it still works.
Oh my goodness! It happens to be Obi-Wan Kenobi's Jedi Starfighter that he parked here in episode 2. So yeah, now you get to ride a Jedi Starfighter, and I suppose like you can sort of see the cogs turning in the heads of the people who made this game, that they thought like flying Obi-Wan's Jedi Starfighter would be really cool. Is it? Does anyone really look back fondly at the Jedi Starfighter from episode 2 and think, oh, I wish I got to fly that thing? And here's kind of the worst thing in many ways, unfortunately. The game, this thing has, seismic charges. Now, seismic charges. That was a seismic charge. Now, you probably, if you've ever actually seen Star Wars, you might well be saying to yourself at this point, wait a minute, Obi-Wan's ship didn't have sonic charges. That was Jango Fett's ship. That had sonic charges. Why would Obi-Wan's ship have sonic charges again? You also probably be noticing that the exact same tactic I did last time is working. That I'm literally just doing the same thing again. So yeah, Obi-Wan's ship just has sonic charges because I just thought, sonic charges are cool. We're doing an episode 2 Geonosis level. Screw it, we will just do that. Again, just get behind it. Doesn't seem to be able to do much to you anymore. You just stay behind it. Yeah, behind it. Fire, fire, fire. Use sonic charge occasionally. Fire, fire. Done.
Looks like an old hyperdrive unit for this relic.
And now you get to fly into the hyperdrive ring thing that we saw in episode 2. That other thing that, like, barely, you probably just about remember, but did you honestly think it was cool? I don't think anyone thought it was cool. But there we go. We used the hyperdrive ring thing. So we're flying Obi-Wan's ship, which mysteriously has Jango Fett's weapons on it. And that's it. I don't even want to show you Deception at Drustrillion. What I will tell you about Deception at Drustrillion, you know what? I'm actually going to show you this. I'm going to show you the sheer baffling, insane awfulness of this game. Challenge for you, the audience. Try and figure out and keep up with what's going on. I'm going to give you all the story.
The Empire is conducting scientific research on the gas platform facility. We need you to infiltrate the facility and pinpoint critical targets for the Y-Wings to bomb.
Nadine, this is Rogue Leader. The energy fields are connected by a series of corridors. I think I can go through them and reach the facility.
Understood, Rogue Leader.
Now, what's going on? I'm going through a space tunnel? Why am I going through a space tunnel? Where does it lead? I'm in space. There's clearly space all around me, so why couldn't I just go through the space that's all around these things? I mean, I'm going to a research facility around a gas something? A gas platform? I don't see why on earth I need to be in this tunnel. I mean, they clearly wanted to make a mission about just, like, flying through a tunnel with loads of obstacles. I mean, God only knows why. That's a whole separate question. Maybe because the first mission in this game didn't have the Death Star trench run, so they wanted to do that.
Those must be the new TIE Hunters. Be careful, they're deadly.
Understood. They've activated some sort of force field. I'm trapped.
So just in case you were about to get worried about this being tense or anything, don't worry, because you happen to have respawning homing missiles permanently. Do, however, worry about the fact that there is basically no way of figuring out where you are. There's basically no way to orientate yourself. The ship is constantly trying to be upright, but when there's no point of reference for what's up and what's down, how are you supposed to figure out what that is? Something that those of you who are familiar with Rogue Leader will probably be familiar with. Obviously, A-Wings are supposed to be like the really kind of soft ship where you have to go quickly and dart in and out because they've got really feeble shields and can't actually stand up to attacks. You'll probably also notice I haven't really made any effort to avoid anything.
This is Wedge.
I was just on my own with no wingman in a massive great sphere.
Good shooting, Wedge.
Oop. In a massive great sphere against TIE Hunters, supposed to be the most deadly of all TIE things, and I've just killed them all by just flying around and using my secondary weapons that recharge infinitely. So you might ask yourself, where on earth was the challenge to that? And you'd be right to ask that. There we are. Just keep going. Luckily, the game, literally, there's no time limit, so there's nothing to stop me just going into slow mode. I'm just going to do this. I mean, I would do if I needed to, but I don't, because it's really easy.
Chris, this is Wedge. I've made it through the tunnel, but there's no facility.
Strange. Is there anything there at all?
All I can see is an Imperial supply convoy. They're getting ready to hyperspace out.
Wedge, you've done your job. Return here to the fleet and we'll regroup.
So Wedge finds some things, but they're not what they expected. There was no facility. They were looking for a facility and there wasn't a facility. Now...
Rogue Leader, we're taking heavy fire from the planet's surface. Eliminate the threat so we can enter hyperspace.
Just to be clear, I haven't cut to a different mission. This is the same mission.
Uses 3 relay dishes to accurately aim. Focus your bombing runs on them.
Copy that, Madine. We're already on our way.
So I'm now in a Y-Wing? This mission's kind of like, if anyone remembers Rogue Leader particularly well, the Maw mission, where you're bombing things there. It's very similar to that, except unlike that mission where you kind of went around and bombed all sorts of stuff and had fun because you're in a bomber, this mission doesn't have any of that. This mission basically is, it feels like a training mission. You're literally just going around this little circle, this area you can see right now. This is it. This is the entire level. There is nothing else. That's it.
That's all of them.
That's it.
Great work, Rogues.
I'm challenging you to tell me, what was the connection between the first and second part of that mission? That going through, driving an A-Wing through a tunnel and then taking a Y-Wing to bomb some things. What was the connection? I'm genuinely lost and confused. This is just awful. They spliced in footage of the film, but just the film and the game don't look the same, because obviously one is with real actors and actual physical sets back, and you know, some relatively unadvanced early green screen technology. And then the actual moment you go into the game, it looks completely different. The colours are different, the lighting is different, it's not even remotely similar. Again, Operation Jump Up and Down works just fine. No need to do anything other than jump up and down. No need to actually aim either. You'll notice the game is doing quite a good job of just about aiming for me. Turret section, woo! That's just what I wanted next. And we're back into film footage, where the lighting is a lot lower, and the ships all look completely different, because it was a physical set. And there we go. So everything looks like that. And now it looks completely different again. I don't know why on earth they decided to do the whole let's make the game look let's just splice some footage of the film, because it just really brings attention to the fact that the game doesn't look actually that much like the film. Oh god, this game engine can't do faces. Why would you take a game engine that was clearly really good at creating beautiful space combat and basically force it to try and do faces and people when they just looked awful? Let's play the final insult, the final worst thing in this entire game, Trials of a Jedi, where having run out of everything in the Star Wars film that featured an X-Wing that they could use, this game decided that it was going to make us play through Luke's training. If you thought that the difference between the quality of the film and the game visuals in Hoth were bad, oh my god, you have not seen anything yet. The quality of the film, the real puppet Yoda that they used in the film, and the actual film that they've got here, compared to the graphics that this engine produces for people, is just... Yep. Yep. And you thought Episode 1 Yoda was bad. It's N64, plain and simple. Just look. Look at this. So here we are. This is the first thing you have to do. You're basically in a 3D game. You're playing a 2D platformer. This is the training Luke is undergoing. Now you have to do a thing with some weird bugs. You have to kill some bugs. Why would Yoda be teaching Luke how to kill? That kind of completely goes against everything that's in the flipping films. Can you imagine Yoda basically just saying, go and murder those bugs? It's awful gameplay. It's awful visuals. It makes literally no sense. And I nominate this mission as the worst thing that's ever had Star Wars' name on it. Cut to film footage. That was apparently the journey that Luke took from his crash site to Yoda's house. Amazingly, that bit of the Star Wars universe that we never saw, but we were all desperately wanting to see. How did Luke get from his crash site to the house? Well, would you believe he did some really awful 2D platforming and murdered some bugs that we never saw in the film. That's what he did.
Boy, jump again when you're in the air. And double jump you will. Do it now.
Yes, Yoda just said jump in the air again and double jump you will. You'll notice that even though this looks 2D, it is 3D, so you have to get the angles right, even though the camera can't be moved, so there's no way of knowing where you're supposed to be exactly. Yep, I just got caught on the edge of an invisible wall, so there's nothing I could do to prevent that. Nobody who played Rogue Leader and bought its sequel went into this thinking, I hope there's platforming. The game that people loved because they got to fly an X-Wing around and do Star Wars battles. This is the game that they got. So having done that, and blimey it goes on a while, you finally get to use your newly found Jedi powers to do the Sarlacc pit. Once again, they've decided they're going to blend the film footage with the game footage, and this is probably the worst example of it in this whole game. Just wait for the audible clunk in a second. It's almost amazing. Film, and all of a sudden game! The colours are completely different now. So now you basically just block, block, block. We're just going to stop the player playing in order to have a cutscene, because obviously we need to represent the Boba Fett thing. And the ship I'm supposed to be jumping to is gone. I'm hoping it'll be back in a minute. Here it comes! So now just block. Can't do anything about the camera, incidentally. You can't see who you're firing at or why. You just have to sort of hope that you get the angle right, because no, there you got it wrong. Now the ship that's got no one on it is just going to keep going around forever. So now I'm on the ship and I'm just going to run around. I'm just pressing A. No one, obviously the gunners aren't bothering to turn around to defend themselves or anything.
Come on.
That's it. That was it. That was basically the conclusion of Luke's arc. Because that's the final mission on Luke's arc. Next time you play this game, you have to go back to the central missions, which are the kind of the plot critical ones. But Luke's entire arc, that was it. I barely cut anything out of that. It can be completed in about 2 minutes. Only reason you'll fail is because the platforming and the camera angles are awful. There's one good mission. There's one good mission, and it's Attack on the Executor. So yes, here we are. We're in space. I'm in an X-Wing. It's actually exciting. There's TIE fighters everywhere. This is the best mission in the game, Attack on the Executor. And the reason that it's the best mission in the game is because it's basically a carbon copy of a mission that exists in Rogue Leader. Except they've made it much easier, which was the downside. They made it much easier. They made it actually kind of laughably easy. This was actually quite difficult in Rogue Leader, but they've massively reduced the number of TIE fighters floating around. Like, this is like it pretty much. The one good mission in Rebel Strike, and the only reason it's any good is because they've stolen it pretty much perfectly from the game that people actually liked. The only point of getting this game is because it's got a co-op version of the game everyone actually likes on the disc. Every single mission that's in any way unique to this game, absolutely disappointing. Not even a true Star Wars mission, not even a true Rogue Leader mission. There's no flying around, there's no anything. The bonus missions actually get even worse. The final mission that you have to spend ages unlocking is Endurance, where you have to run around on foot, and just taking waves after waves of on-foot enemies. There is nothing good in this game that is not just copied from its predecessor or outright stolen, so therefore you don't get bonus points for that. Everything it adds in makes things much worse. And relative to its own predecessor, which it kind of came out, I think, about 2 years after, it's just a vastly inferior game. It's a less interesting game. They actively took a game that people liked and they made it worse. And that is why this is the worst Star Wars game ever made. Because Kinect Star Wars, we knew it was going to be bad. This game had pedigree, it had a good team behind it. There's no reason this game should have been as bad as it actually was. So I am willing to defend this view that I think this is the worst Star Wars game ever made. I think I've shown you some truly awful bits of it. Like, you can link me to footage of Kinect Star Wars, sure, absolutely, but the awfulness will only take a few minutes. That's really all it'll take. After that, there's nothing more to see. This game just gets more awful and awful. You can keep watching footage of different missions for 20-30 minutes, and this game just keeps getting worse. There is no end to the terribleness. Everything about it is bad. So yes, there is nothing that is good. Adding in the fill was a desperate measure. Adding in the bits on foot was terrible. As you add force powers into the on-foot bits, they get even worse. Walkers were a terrible addition. When I didn't even show the AT-ATs, but when you add in the AT-AT bits, those are even worse. Those you're literally just going in a straight line holding down fire. It's just terrible. There's just nothing good here. There is literally nothing good, and yeah. Tell me if you think there's a worse Star Wars game, because I can't think of one. I mean, what would it be? I honestly don't know. I enjoyed Shadows of the Empire more than this. I think Shadows of the Empire was a more competent shooter than this one when it forced you to be on foot. That's amazing. Next week, I will be putting up a video. I will be going over what I think is the best Star Wars game that's ever been made. And it's probably not an obvious choice. I will tell you now, it's not Knights of the Old Republic. I love Knights of the Old Republic, but I think there's actually a game which, though it doesn't get that much love and doesn't get that much attention, I think actually deserves the crown just a little bit more. And I will be going over that, and I'll be making a video on it next week. And after that, I'll be going into some of the retro classics. I will actually I'll go back and I'll visit some real classic Star Wars games. So if any of that sounds appealing, do feel free to subscribe, hang around. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen. I've been John, this has been Menu True Nerd, and this has been, with great regret, Rebel Strike. To my mind, the worst Star Wars game that has ever been made. So thank you very much, and goodbye.